From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, another loss. This one, though, to Miami, and no further clarity on who's your quarterback. Can the defense give up 11 cash down conversions and still be considered good? And trajectory. I do not think it means what you think it means, Mario. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Corey Clark one time for me, please.
That's going to be Warchant, B-O-G-O. BOGO. Buy one, get one. Buy 10, get 10.
Shout out to our friends over at vitaminenergy.com. The Workout Plus was going to be the, I don't want to call it prop, because whenever we're done using those bottles that we show on camera, they're usually going down one of our gullets. And I decided to take my Vitamin Energy at about 6:30 on Saturday night, Corey, because I was just, it's going to be a long day. We had to check out of our hotel in Miami at normal hours on Saturday, and the plan was to cover the game and do what we do after the game and then get on the road and make it to Orlando.
Right.
Which is what happened.
Okay, good.
The plan was successfully executed somewhat. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this unless it got some energy in me. I took the whole shot, Corey. So I just want to underscore, even if you are of healthy body and mind, maybe just a half shot. Maybe just a half shot might do it for you. I was good to go, though. Like, I don't know if it was because it was Florida State, Miami, so nerves were we're just pinging and firing on all cylinders. But like I was a little bit on edge. Wasn't jittery though, but I was on edge. So it might have been the caffeine, might have been the emotions of a bitter rival contest. But I made it through the night. We got to safe port, found safe quarter. Although, dude, we rented an F-150.
Oh wow! What color? Cherry red?
Yeah, it was a white one.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to everybody who drives an F-150. I couldn't drive it. Ira couldn't park it. It was just a mess, absolute mess. But we made it back in one piece on Sunday. Here to do the show. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. FSU won 2 months, $1. You're mad at everybody. I get it, everybody. You don't want to spend any money on this product. Get it, but hey, it's $1. What are you gonna do?
Well, no. I mean, you better. Warchant's doing as well as ever. Don't conflate our performance with what the football team is doing. We're still the best in the business. So don't say you don't want to spend money on this product. You better spend money on this product because it's the best product there is. And eventually, Aslan, the Florida State football team will be good again.
Promise, Corey? You promise?
I 100% promise, just like I did back in 2019 and 2020, and I was right. It will come back. It will turn around. It might come back next year, but it will come back eventually. Probably sooner rather than later, and you're not going to want to be a fan later.
Well said.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to want to be a fan later. You're going to want to get in for $1 right now. So absolutely, get up on board.
Another clumsy show coming your way, everybody. Because I just don't know where to go, Corey. Fourth straight loss. You're 1-7 now. You lost to Miami 36-14. And, I think most of us on the panel, on the staff at warchant.com that participate in the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins, brace for a pretty lopsided beatdown. And I guess you can, your column called it a 36-14 rout, which I guess is kind of accurate. You lost by 3 touchdowns. Miami still covered.
I think that might have been an Ira edit.
Oh, yeah.
Not because I disagree, just because I don't use the word route typically. So that might have been an Ira edit. I might have had something worse. I don't know.
Big edit, always rearing their heads.
Yeah, yup.
So, I don't want to be like, well, it was better than I thought it was going to be, because it doesn't take any of the steam off, I guess, losing that game. I'm not exhausted or fatigued about talking about this team losing game after game, Corey, but it becomes, I guess, kind of the crux of your column. Like, you're talking about how can we, the only silver lining, and that's not even probably the right sort of idiom to use on this situation, but the only thing you really were going to be able to get value out of these remaining games was going to be to give you a sort of platform to judge your quarterbacks so you know what you have in them going forward in the next season. I just don't even know what you're getting out of these games any longer, because it just seems to be the same mistakes constantly happening. It's a safe assumption that there's going to be staff changes, but we don't know exactly how robust, how far-reaching they're going to be. So it's just so difficult to try to get off the mat and get everybody excited for another week of this nonsense. But like, where do you even begin when it comes to this Miami game and judging what happened and what did you take from Saturday's 36-14 loss to the U?
Yeah, not a lot. I think the talking point or something that was interesting was just how much work Kromenhoek got. And you did see some tools. You saw the wheels, obviously. Again, he's not a 4'4" kid, but he's not 5'4" either. Like, he's an athletic guy. And he puts his nose in there, man. He runs. He ran for, I think, 3 first downs, including the crazy QB sneak play. So when it comes – but you can't evaluate how they're going to be in this offense. You can't evaluate like, oh, he runs – he seems to be in a rhythm and gets things – it's crisp. He looks like he's in control. No, man, this is chaos. It's an utter chaotic mess. Nobody would be in control of this offense. So you can't really evaluate what they do within the system, within the parameters of the offense. What you can evaluate is the arm strength, the accuracy, and the athleticism, and maybe the feel for the rush. And I did think
Luke's got a doctorate in that stuff, man. He's totally at home in the chaos of a broken down pocket. He seems to have a good sense of where to go and how to elude it.
Well, yeah, there were a couple times where I thought he kind of folded into the rush, but that's to be expected because you didn't pass protect well. But I thought he made some significant strides in that department, like stepping into throws, maybe stepping up in the pocket, not just stepping in the pocket to rush to scramble, but maybe kind of sidestepping or stepping up, still looking downfield. All that stuff I thought was positive. I thought there were signs there that he might be a real one, man. Not just a real one like he can start for you, but he could be a star just because of the measurables. But nobody's going to star in this offense. There's no chance that we're going to be talking next Monday on next Monday's show about some 40-point 550-yard outburst. It's just not happening. The tools aren't there for these quarterbacks to work with. So you judge their measurables and their skill set. You can't judge how they operate in this offense because nobody does, man. So we're 0 for 3 now when you want to talk about quarterbacks. 2 5-stars and a 4-star have all gotten significant snaps in this offense, and it still looks the same no matter who's running it. Well, it doesn't look the same because you moved the ball with your quarterback legs on Saturday night, but the results are the same. Still gross, still unproductive, still a mess. So that's the next 4 games. It's like, to me, Aslan, it's just about getting reps. Not reps to get comfortable in the offense because I hope it's a brand new – if it's not a brand new offense, it's certainly going to be an offense with a bunch of brand new players. But more about getting game reps so you're comfortable going into, I assume, Alabama next year. One of these guys, pretty good chance one of these guys, the start next year will be against Alabama. The first game of the season will be against Alabama. So getting comfortable with being a college football quarterback where you've seen everything. You just – I do think that matters. I do think live game reps matter as you move forward in your career. But live game reps with this offense, trying to improve and get comfortable with it, it's pointless. You're going to have maybe a new offense altogether, new coordinators. You're certainly not going to be throwing to different people and handing it off to different people. And we're all hoping different people blocking for you.
No. Give it a one-time to Robert Scott, everybody. Graded out number 1 for the entire offense. Had an 87.9 pass blocking grade, according to PFF.
Robert. Okay, Rob.
But again, the 60 is the barometer that's used. You start off when you walk onto that field with a 60 by your name, and then from there, however good or bad you do, your score either goes up or down. So based on that, Jalen Early got a failing grade of a 48.7 in pass blocking, and Maurice Smith got a 38.7 grade in pass blocking. Rizzy, 63.7. Jeremiah Byer, 65.8. And again, Robert Scott at 87.9. So, yeah, the offensive line continues to be a problem, but so many other things also creating problems for the offense. I almost wanted to make a list, just all the things that went wrong on Saturday, but that wasn't going to be a great way to start off this Monday show. But, whether it was Hakeem not being able to track a ball correctly,
looking like he's never tried to catch a football in his life.
I really think that I would have looked like that would have been me out there. And everybody like, who's this idiot out there? And I'm not calling him an idiot. I think Hakeem's a smart guy. I think he's an athletic, physical specimen. But man, that wasn't a great sort of look. That was a legitimate opportunity, like a chunk play. And again, I don't know if Florida State's going to win the football game, but who knows? Stranger things have happened if you got a spark that early on. That was the first drive of the game, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
You had a false start in the first drive. You had an absolute missed block opportunity. I thought on the throw, or I don't know if it was a run or a throw to Lawrence, if some of your receivers would have been able to get a little better blocking, I think you would have had a much more manageable third down opportunity on that drive. And the drive ends with that shot downfield, which, it'd be nice if they did a little bit more of that, Corey. It'd be nice if they took a little bit more shots downfield. I know Mike said they're not going to do that just to do that, but you need to have some big chunk plays in this offense, and you need to take some shots to make that happen. And they did it a few times and couldn't connect on either of them. But Malik Benson caught a touchdown for the first time, so that was cool. Shout out Malik. Welcome to the 24 season. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything new in terms of frustration that you have with this offense? Is it just the fact that it continues to be the same sort of things that feeds into the frustration, or big picture, not big picture, but maybe medium picture, just, Miami, not looking great really that's probably the weakest they've looked all season against the Power 4 team. I have a buddy who's from Miami who, texted me, Corey, that said, thought we looked awfully flat. People were talking about they seemed to kind of shut it down in terms of looking for big plays downfield after that sack that Edwin Joseph laid on Cam Ward in the second drive, which was a hell of a play. That was a nice physical sort of assertion, but very flat, my buddy said. Sure, they thought FSU wasn't going to score much, so if you didn't gift them short fields, you'll likely win. But little pass rush, didn't force any turnovers, basically nothing downfield passing-wise. And all that said, though, the game was never really in danger for Miami. So, process that for us, big guy.
Yeah, man. It felt a lot like the Clemson game, except one was on the road and one was at home. Like, I think you were in that game a little bit against Clemson because you were at home. You did bow up on third downs in the red zone. You were able to get off the field occasionally in the red zone, especially. But yeah, it felt like the same. It felt like the same type of game where they're 20 points better than you, and they proved it. Like they didn't do anything special because they knew your offense can't do anything against them. Like, if you don't give Florida State a short field multiple times, like we said, like if Florida State gets 3 turnovers in that game, somehow, it's a game. Like, it's a legitimate game. But they didn't because they don't. They couldn't get off the field. Having the ball 3 times and a half is a joke. That's insanity. That doesn't happen. Who gets the ball 3 times and a half? And I feel like it's happened multiple times to this team this season. And the bad part about that, although it got rectified a little bit in the second half, there were more possessions, you just want these guys to get reps. Brock Glenn got 2 drives. Brock Glenn got the first 2 drives of the game and then went back into the game, literally, Aslan, after 2.5 hours.
Makes no sense. The explanation still makes no sense to me, by the way.
Right, and I don't mind him going back in the game. That's fine. Like, I'm not through with him either. Like, Kromenog hasn't done enough to just say, yeah, man, this is yours. He hits 1 QB sneak, and all of a sudden it's his show. And the QB sneak was the worst QB sneak run this year by anyone.
Yeah.
They snap it when he's not ready. He goes backwards. They push the line 2 yards back. If it wasn't for Sam Singleton and I think maybe Robert Scott, kind of yanking them and pulling them and jostling them free.
And then realizing to get out of his way, so good heads up play by those guys.
And then Sam Singleton busting his butt to get down the field to try to make a block. Like, that's all good to see. But, I'm not a 42-yard, like, kind of just fluke run isn't enough for me to think, oh, yeah, it's Kromenhoek. Like, I'm all for both of them playing. But you gave them 2 drives, and then Kromenhoek did what he did on that 3rd drive. It was a dentist trip once he got to the 1, but you did get in the end zone. But after that, they did nothing. So he did nothing. They didn't score anything. Again, I shouldn't say he didn't do anything. It's what's around him. But even still, I think Kromenhoek has more upside. I will say that now after watching 2 games. But I don't really care about upside as much as I want. It would be nice, Aslan, I was thinking about this. Maybe there is a world where they both come back. Because there is a chance that both of these guys are capable, competent, maybe above average to good college starting quarterbacks. How could anyone know right now? You can't. It's not like if you took, I don't know, man, Shadur, who's going to be the number one pick? Cam Ward? I don't know. If you put them on this offense, it would be scoring 40 points a game. It's just a wreck. There's nothing redeeming about it. So, anyway, so Brock Glenn being gone out of the game for 2.5 hours, of course he didn't look good when he came back in the game. It was a quick 3 and out. For some reason, you're running quick and throwing it every down. And didn't look great. Looked fine on the last drive. Drove him down for a touchdown. Heck, they've only had 13 this year. So
12 plays, 75 yards, and 133, man.
Can't
Efficient.
diminish it. Yeah, can't diminish what he did. It looked fine. Now it was against, I don't know if it was all Miami backups, but it was certainly against the Miami team that didn't care anymore. So I'm not going to make too much of it. But it was nice that he got a touchdown drive. It was nice that Kromenhoek got a touchdown drive. But I'm all for get them the most reps. Get them both feeling comfortable in being college quarterbacks, guys that maybe even believe they can do this at this level. And then whatever you do next year offensively, you'll have maybe one. You'll definitely have one. You might have 2 guys that have some real valuable experience going into next season. I'm okay with Kromenhoek playing more than Brock Glenn, but again, I don't think Kromenhoek was so good. Clearly, he wasn't so good on Saturday night that he deserves just all the reps. That ship has not sailed. I think there's a real competition still going on.
Well, with NIL being a finite resource, Corey, can you and you needing to address a lot of positions, mostly on your offense, I mean, can you afford to probably have to give both of those guys packages that kind of shows that you're committed to them so that they would return? Is that like prudent? Or is the pressure on you to figure out one of these guys? I mean, you're making $10 million a year. We're asking you to win football games. We're clearly not going to do that. Please at least know through these games and practices that you can trust one of these guys to build around for 25. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I think no, it's not at all. Like I would like them to know after the Florida game, this is our guy for next year. But again, I'm just not. I'm not saying that it's been judged because of a QB sneak. It just hasn't. Like Brock Glenn's as fast as that, gang. So maybe Brock Glenn scores on that. Now Kromenhoek has not turned the ball over in his whatever it's been, probably 50 college snaps or so. So that's a positive. Brock Glenn can't say that. But, yeah, man, they're just – neither one of them was all that sharp. They were 12 of 31 on the night combined. They threw for 110 yards, and 30 of those were the Amari Williams catch at the end of the game. So, anyway, I just think that I don't think either one of them will have earned some – and also, who are you bidding against? Like, who's going to come calling for either one of these guys?
That's fair, yeah.
To the point you can't match it.
Let's learn our lesson from last year, Riley. Who are we betting against?
Yeah, there's no – yes. I think you would like both of them to come back and keep competing. But if one wrestles the job away in the next 4 games, I'm fine with it. I think, like I said, I think Kromenhoek has more of an upside. I have liked he's made some really nice throws. I think he's more accurate than Brock Glenn. Brock was 5 of 18 in that game, but it feels like 4 or 5 of them were throwaways out of bounds because he had pressure in his face. But he clearly wasn't sharp either. Neither one of them were. So yeah, I think Kromenhoek is the guy you'd want to be the starter, but it ain't. It's not that the jury is still out. So no, I would not be spending a lot of money on a backup quarterback if I'm Florida State next year. You need to spend money on. Across the board at other positions. But, yes, I think wide receiver, quarterback, those are 2 positions you hope. Now, wide receiver, yeah, man, you might have to go and get something. But you hope your young guys are good. That's the whole idea, right? That's the whole point, is they get better. They improve. So you hope those 2 positions are good. They're just young. And then you can build everything else. Because I was thinking about that, Aslan, like, man, I think your biggest advantage against Miami, the thing that they had not seen all year, was DBs that could actually run with their receivers and keep up. And they did, man. Yeah. I thought Cypress, I don't even want to say picked on them. They just kept throwing 5-yard outs to start the game, 6-yard outs. I thought he was good. I thought Azarie was good, at least in coverage. I'd like him to get off a block That second touchdown they had, he just stayed there on the goal line and got blocked for the whole game, for the whole play, and then let the receiver push him around a couple more times after that. I'd like to see a little fight out of him there to try to make that play, but I saw plenty of competitive spirit and fight in coverage, which was good to see. And Kevin Noles, I thought, has been really good the last few weeks as the nickel guy. But you're losing two of those corners probably. So one of your strengths right now, and again, I think that Quindarius might be able to play. I think Ricky Knight, Charles Lester, those guys, you've got a core of young guys that I think you think are pretty good football players. But the reason you were in the game really at all is guys that, and I say in the game like it wasn't 60-0, were guys that might not be here next year on defense. So I think that's where you want to spend a good portion of your money if you have any to spend after paying off some assistant coaches.
And for those wondering, PFF graded Luke Kromenhoek 56.2. That was 17th on the offense, but, Luke Simmons in there, and he played one snap. But Brock Glenn grade out at 66.4, which sadly was the fourth highest grade for an offensive player for Florida State.
But here's the thing with those rankings, man. And again, we need to take them all with multiple grains of salt.
Coarse grind. Salt, not
last
fine.
Week,
coarse.
Last week, Kromenhoek was the highest graded quarterback in the country. Or at least the highest graded freshman in the country. Yeah, he graded out at like 90% on 2 of 7 because he made a big-time throw. That they give you a huge points boost if you make what they deem a big-time throw or 2. And maybe they counted the one to Hakeem that he dropped, but then the one to Portier obviously was a big-time throw that he got that was dropped. But Luke Kromenhoek wasn't the best player on the offense last week. He was skittish. He looked better this week, much better in my opinion. Yeah, he made a couple of nice throws, but he was also seemed again overwhelmed a few points. He looked much more confident and composed and poised and all that on Saturday against Miami. But yet his grade was 40 points lower. So I don't buy that. I don't think Brock Glenn was better than him. I don't know how anybody could say that. Brock Glenn was 5 of 18. The throws he made, even on that last drive, he skipped like 3 of them. And I thought he left the pocket too soon a couple of times. So I don't know. I don't know how they grade quarterbacks, but I feel like people watching that, they don't want to hear that Luke Kromenhoek was that much worse than Brock Glenn because it doesn't make sense to what they saw. It doesn't correlate to what they saw, which was neither one very good. But I think we thought Kromenhoek was a little bit better, right? All things considered.
Yeah. I think Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is significantly better than any other billiard hall, sports bar in the Tallahassee area, everybody. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back at it this weekend, everybody. Happy hour, 5 p.m. Friday. Jeff Cameron, Corey Clark, come on out, say hi, shake some hands. Let us lament and heal together as a fan base. And check out all the great dishes, options, happy hours Sunday when you're watching your NFL games, weekdays 4 to 7 o'clock, trivia on Tuesday, bingo on Thursday. Again, billiards is called the Corner Pocket, everybody. Darts, jukeboxes. You got to love it. CPTallybar.com, the website. Corey, did you make it out there over the weekend?
I was out there Sunday for a little NFL football. Exciting. I got to see Jameis pull off the dub. That was good to see. Got to see the Falcons hold on. It was a good Sunday for the Clark household.
All right. Awesome. It'll be a good weekend for you or day whenever you decide to show up to the Corner Pocket, everybody. Go check it out. 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Warchant, BOGO, Warchant, BOGO. Use it, buy one, get one free. Nuance, Corey, nuance. Everybody likes that word. Shades of gray, not just black and white. I don't want to get too locked down into that sort of stuff. Is this defense good or bad? I'm going to go ahead and take the position that despite the fact that Miami converted 8 of 14 third downs and were perfect 3 of 3 on fourth down, which, when you really think about it, that pretty much goes out to them being 11 of 17 on cash downs.
No, well, or 11 of 14. Like, great, you stopped them on a
Right,
third down.
sorry,
they,
you're right,
they
better,
converted it the next one.
Yes,
So
yes.
you got essentially 3 stops the whole game.
Correct. Well said, Corey. I goofed that up. So 11 of 14 on cash downs because they manage their third downs a lot better than you manage your third downs. Because, listen, you had 3 consecutive turnover on downs, and, we'll maybe talk about that later in the show about how they kind of manage those. But I understand that they couldn't get off the field against Miami. Looking at the drive chart, Miami had 9 drives. Even counting that last one where it was only one play where they knelt on. So they really had 8. They had 8 drives and they scored on 7 of them. And Aslan, how are you going to sit here and say that it's a good defense? And outside of that first drive, they were given short fields to defend because you kept turning the ball over on downs, trying to make something out of this pretty lousy offense. I thought they played about as well as you could hope in those sort of situations. Listen, man, this Miami team was number 1 in the country in total offense, right, Corey? Or scoring offense. I mean, they're like 500 yards of offense these guys were putting up. Cam Ward has been scoring touchdowns by the handful every single week. Cam Ward is, he caught a touchdown, but he didn't run it in for a touchdown. He did not throw for a touchdown. I think it was the first time since maybe, the second to last game of last season where he did not throw for a touchdown. You had him, as you pointed out astutely in the Warchant wrap, you had him so frustrated he's spiking an iPad on the sidelines even though they're up in the game. Xavier Estrepo has left his career in Miami. He finally got a win over Florida State, but he never really did much of anything against this program when he played against them. I don't know, man. Maybe it is the offense is just so bad that I'm looking for something to hold on to. Listen, the substitution penalties, you got to figure that out. Stop rolling in so many guys as though you're totally gassed and these guys need to get off the field and trying to be so specific and specialized in what your sub packages are. But I think Miami went up against a defense that had a really good secondary and a really good front four, and they're probably like, damn, I think a lot of Miami fans are probably thinking they're not nearly as good as they thought they were. They're going to bask in the win, but I think that they probably have some doubts lingering because they were worried about their defense for the better part of these last 3 weeks because of how many points and yards were put up on them. But I think they now might think that their bulletproof offense is not nearly as bulletproof as they thought it was. And listen, man, I thought you played pretty solid on defense on the whole, despite the fact that you were 11 for 14 on cash down. Do you have nuance in that, Corey? Do you not want to say one way or the other if they were good or bad? Do you want to hang out in the middle there somewhere?
I mean, I hang out in the middle in the sense that the defense isn't the reason you lost the game, just like the defense isn't the reason you're 1-7. If you had an Iowa 2022 defense, you could still have a winning record, even as bad as your offense is. But
I don't know. Even that'd be a stretch, buddy.
I mean, you're right. You're 132nd in the country in scoring. You have the worst. I looked it up, Aslan. I know you asked me about defense. This is the worst statistically right now through 8 games. It's the worst offense in the ACC since Wake Forest in 2014, which was Clawson's first year when he was introducing a whole new offense, and they averaged 214 yards per game and 14.8 points. Your team is averaging 14.9 points. It is an embarrassment. And with that, you have very good special teams. Like by most metrics, you're in the top 5.
That punt was gorgeous, by the way.
All of it, man. He's great. Maybe let him punt more on 4th down, Mike. Who wants to see that nonsense? Oh, you almost picked it up. Now they got a short field. Just punt him and make him go 93 yards. They might anyway, but at least do it. But anyway, so the defense isn't the reason you're losing these games. But by God, would it be okay to get a 3 and out? No. I can't find it, Aslan. All I do is Google 3 and out leaders in this country, and I cannot find it. But I can't imagine there are 5 defenses in the country that have less 3 and outs than Florida State. And what that means is even when they do get finally off the field, after they've given up a 3rd and 20 or a 3rd and 22 with just a stupid hold for no reason on a running back 6 yards from the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 22. Have some game awareness, Blake. Like, what do you have to be so close to him for? Let him catch it. It's going to be 4th and 13. What are you worried about? Why are you grabbing someone? It's just asinine, and they do dumb stuff like that all the time. Now, that happened. It was 3rd and 22 when they were already down by 3 scores, so it's not like that cost them the game. It's just idiocy. And it's idiocy to be 3rd and 20 and leave a running back just wide open with nobody on that side of the field because of another quote-unquote miscommunication. So the defense does not make me nearly as mad as the offense. I know you can't judge that from my voice, but it doesn't, because I do think they competed. I do think they have some real players, but they're still not good. They're not good, but they're by far they're not close to the biggest problem on this team. But that doesn't mean they're good. They've been good enough. Even an average offense beats Duke. Even an average offense beats Memphis. Maybe one other win out there. But yeah, man, the third down deficiencies are just gross. The only time they've really been good on third down, maybe Cal was another one, was against Duke, when Duke just shut it down because they knew the Florida State offense couldn't do anything. So they weren't going to risk anything. But yeah, man, 3rd and 22, and you got a running back. You got a running back going out for a little not a screen pass, just going out in the flat. You got man-to-man on the linebacker, and you just grab him with both hands, as if you're worried like the game is on the line. Play off him and let him catch it. If your job is to solely guard that running back coming out of the backfield, you don't have to get up and grab him. It's just because it's a 5-yard penalty, Aslan, but it's a first down. And it's just they do stuff like that with the too many men on the field, the 12 players, the 13 players, whatever it is. They do it a lot. And you could tell Norvell was very displeased after the game, but I don't really care. Good, Mike. Be displeased. Or maybe, better yet, fix it. Or find somebody that can fix it. But, again, I say that. What did it matter, Aslan? Miami could have scored 15 points and won the game.
Yeah, everybody laments these turnovers that they don't create. It's like, what are they going to do with these turnovers that they create?
Well, maybe a field goal. Maybe you get a Fitzgerald 53-yard field goal or something. They don't pick up fumbles. They don't catch deflected balls that are deflected right to them. They don't do it. But it's it is what it is. But the defense is average. It should be better than it is, because I do think they have multiple NFL players. I do think that the linebackers, when people see these runs up the gut, everybody wants to blame the defensive line and getting pushed around. And that's fair, because they do occasionally. But your linebackers are nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found on those runs up the gut. And also, I want to put it in perspective. Miami's a very good offense. Like Miami, it wasn't just 500, Aslan. They're averaging 577 yards per game.
Like 50 points per game.
Yeah, over 50 points per game, 577 yards per game. Cam Ward was leading the country in passing yards per game. He threw for like 200. They got, if you take away the stupid last touchdown where he just goes in the middle of the line and then they don't blow the whistle and he keeps spinning and goes for 60 yards or whatever it was, they scored 29 points. The defense was fine. It was fine. Not good. Can't get off the field. Can't give your offense the ball. Can't give them a short field. Like, if you could get as good as you are special teams-wise, you never give up any big returns. If you could get a 3 and out, maybe you get the ball, God forbid, at the 40 or the 45. Florida State starts every possession at its own 20 or 25. They never have good field position. Ever. They had one against Duke. They got a 3 and out on the first drive. It was a bad punt. They started in Duke territory, which I think might have been the first drive all season for this offense that started in the opponent's territory, and they got a field goal out of it. They actually got points. So how about that? But no, the defense is just good enough to make you angry with all the dumb stuff they do. But, you had 4 sacks. You did make Cam Ward run for his life a few times. You hit him very hard a few times. You had him slamming the iPad down. I don't want to make it sound like I'm nearly as mad about the defense as I am the offense. It's just that the offense, I've almost, like, what else can be said? I've come to grips with it. It's just, it's atrocious. The defense, give me 4 3 and outs, man. Just give me 4 3 and outs in one game and see how that looks. But I bet, Aslan, I'm going to go look. I bet they've had, in 8 games, I bet they've had 9 3 and outs on defense the entire season.
Yeah, Miami had none on Saturday night. What's crazy, though, Miami's average starting drive was their own 28, which makes no sense. I can't believe
one of them started at the 3.
5, they put it for some reason.
Well, yeah, so one of them, that curbed the average a little bit. Yeah, and they also had another drive that started like at their 11 because of a illegal block on a kick return. Yeah. You did kick off. You got to kick off a few times, so that was cool. They started after those 4th down plays. They started a bunch at their own 43.
But
I thought the defense gave up a few first downs, but held them to field goals. That kid has a monster leg, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did everything you could to stay in the game, but it was never going to happen because no matter what defense you go up against, and folks, Miami's defense ain't good. Just ask. I mean, Cal put up 38. Louisville put up 45.
Virginia Tech
put up 34. It almost 40 if they count that last Hail Mary. That's 40 points. And you put up 7 until the final 30 seconds of the game. And that came on the benefit of as you said, a Pee-wee football QB sneak that busted for 42 yards.
Yeah. Florida State's average third down distance on Saturday night was 6.5 yards. Miami's was 7.4 yards. So, I mean, take with that whatever you want. It just feels like, again, I know they're not getting off the field on third down. I'm not excusing that. And maybe I shouldn't say they're good. I think they're good enough that if your offense was not this abysmal, it would not be nearly this just hard.
You'd be having a Michigan season.
Yeah.
That's funny. I kind of I didn't clap back. That's much more aggressive. But Jeff on that's not what it was. But Jeff on Tuesday on Headlines talked about how terrible Michigan is. And I'm like, man, if Michigan is terrible, what is this?
And he's like, well, it's something completely separately.
Beyond terrible or something. But yeah, it's like, no, man, Michigan's 5-3. Yeah. They're probably going to go 8-4. And, that's the kind of year. So not terrible. Certainly a significant step back from undefeated national champions. But they're not a terrible team. They're a terrible offense, but they're not a terrible team. But if you had just an average offense, you would be having a Michigan type season. You could be 5-3 right now. You could be 5-3. You lose to Clemson, you lose to Miami, you lose one of the other games. But any team with just an average offense, 29 points a game, not 14.9, 29, you're probably 5-3 right now. You're looking at an 8-win season, 7 or 8-win season, which again, not what anybody wanted when the year began, but not a disaster. But this is a disaster because your offense is a disaster.
Yeah. Probably should have pulled up some stats on this, but, I don't know if this is going to make it into one of Ira's 3-2-1 portions of his weekly column, which, by the way, be a subscriber to warchant.com, and you can have access to that, and it's one of the best reads on the entire On3 network, so check that out. But again, Florida State's average third down distance, 6.5 yards. Miami's was 7.4 yards. But in the second half, when Florida State kept turning the ball over on downs, it felt like so many of Florida State's third down plays was to try to get it all in one shot when you knew you were kind of in 4-down territory. So Ira and I were kind of lamenting this. Why didn't you? And I think you might even mention the wrap too. I mean, there's some moments where maybe you could have ran the ball a little bit. You didn't maybe have to go into completely just pitching the ball around the park the entire time. Try to get 3 yards on 3rd and 7, so it's 4th and 4. And then may have a better shot at converting it. But the only thing I kind of pushed back with Ira and saying was, maybe that you feel things are so bad that you're better off trying to get that conversion on 2 shots. It's like you lose one of your bets gambling on Saturday and you want to make your money back, and the easiest way to do that is to put $500 on a for sure gimme as opposed to doing like 2 smart spreads so that you don't have to risk as much, exposure, if you will. So it just felt like, all right, it's 3rd and 7. We're probably better off throwing the ball 10 yards down the field twice to get a first down than we are trying to run the ball for 4 yards and then trying to throw the ball for 4 yards, because we just cannot put 2 plays together consecutively. Was there anything about the way that the Florida State managed their third downs you thought that maybe wasn't ideal or optimal, considering these freshman quarterbacks and receivers that really weren't able to get free consistently?
I just thought they should have run the ball more. It's hard to say that, though, because they had the ball 3 times in the first half. So it's like, okay, how are you going to establish the ground game when you never have the ball? And not all of that is the defense's fault. Your one drive took half an hour, your touchdown drive. Literally, it took, I think, half of the quarter. And then, of course, Miami had the ball for the rest of the quarter, because why would your defense be able to get off the field? But, hey, held them to a field goal. Held him to an extra point. Nice tackle by Blake Nicholson there to come from behind and get Cam Ward before he got in the end zone. So I know I killed him for the hold, but that was a nice play to see. That was good to see that hustle in the the physicality to bring him down so violently like he did. So that was cool. But I thought I actually was for 2 games in a row now, Aslan. I've been again, it's all relative. I've been encouraged by the running game. They are not just getting blown up every time they try to run the ball. There are holes there. I thought Toafili hit some holes really well when he got the ball. I thought Keziah Holmes had a couple of nice runs there in the second half. Had the he scored the touchdown.
Correct.
In the first half, right?
Yes.
And that was blocked well. Like, it wasn't like he had to bowl over 9 people. That was blocked well. It was schemed up well, blocked well.
A good play call too. Miami was anticipating them trying to run something on the inside.
And it was the same play call they had run, I think, earlier on the drive when Luke Kromenhoek gets stepped on and still manages to flip it out to Keziah, who bobbles it, but is able to corral it and get close enough that they could go for it on 4th and short, which I think that's when the QB sneak happened, was on the next play. But they just, they can't get out of their own way. Like, again, the snaps that Luke Kromenhoek has to be like a hockey goalie with the reflexes just to stop what, kick saves. Rocket shot bullets by his face mask or above his head that he's getting his hands up. Maurice keeps them on their toes for sure. I thought the running game, again, has looked better these last 2 weeks. Small sample size, especially on Saturday because you didn't run it enough. I thought it's looked pretty good, right? I think you've had more positive runs these last 2 weeks, it feels like, than you've had all season. But obviously that goes with having mobile quarterbacks as well. And that something you could have done earlier in the year, but what are you going to do? It's not like now that you've got mobile quarterbacks, the offense is humming. Yeah. It's still the exact same non-producing, non-scoring, no gaining yardage offense that it was beforehand. It just looks different. Instead of throwing for 230 yards, you're throwing for 118, but you're running for over 100 now. So good. But again, I thought.
But to be cynical, the fake punt against Duke pushed you over the 100-yard threshold, and then Luke's, Little Giants quarterback keeper sneak, whatever you want to call that, push you over the 100-yard threshold as well too. But you did it. I mean, it counts.
Yeah, it counts. And I was going to say, I was just looking at the running back. So, you only gave the running backs 10 carries, but they got 41 yards. Which again, I get it, folks. It's not something to go do cartwheels and scream in euphoria about. But 10 for 41 with this group ain't bad. That's pretty good. And some of those runs do count, the quarterback runs, but it's just do they design any, Aslan?
No.
Or are they all just mad scrambles?
That seems like the latter. I asked Mike one day after practice last week about whether or not the presence of Jordan, which was Jordan, miss you, buddy. The presence of Brock and Luke's just athleticism, if that has helped spring the run game. He's like, nah. It really hasn't done anything new that we haven't seen before earlier in the season. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to, engage really with any question I'm asking him, or he just really doesn't believe that. Because I remember you talking about that. You were advocating on behalf of putting in Brock earlier in the year just because there's just the presence, the possibility that a guy's going to keep it on a read option or an RPO.
Well, he also did keep it. Like, especially against Duke, they do keep it. Like, man, it's probably just a crazy coincidence that your 2 best rushing games of the year, by far, you were averaging 50 yards a game, 54 yards a game rushing. The last 2 weeks with 2 mobile quarterbacks playing, and remember, Duke now, 25 yards were lost on sacks. But the last 2 weeks, you've averaged about 130 yards a game rushing, which is more than double what you were averaging. But, yeah, it's all coincidence. That's just coincidence. They finally figured it out, Aslan, up front with the running game. No. It's
Jalen
because
Early.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then Rizzi on Saturday. No, it's because you have a running threat at quarterback, and they actually are. They can move the chains, Aslan. Florida State was 3 of 13 on third downs. By the way, second to last in the country in that department, third down percentage offensively. Cash down, man. They're 100. I think they're 117th on defense or 107th on defense. They're 132nd on offense. They're the worst probably combined third down team in the country. Which leads to a 1-7 record. But they had 3 third down conversions in that game Saturday night, Aslan. All 3 were quarterback scrambles. All 3.
Yeah,
When you're not scrambles, not runs,
yeah.
scrambles. Kromenhoek on his drive, I think, picked up like a 3rd and 14 on a scramble. And then Brock Glenn had 2 on the last drive of the game on quarterback scrambles. Because, man, that's the only way you can pick up 3rd downs because your offense is very, very bad. But, hey, December's going to be fun, and that's not a joke, Aslan. December's going to be fun. They are going to make changes. There is a whole new roster coming. And hope springs eternal because it's not like you're looking at, I don't know, man, the 06 or 07 or 18 season when you're like, yeah, what is there to believe in going into next year? Because we don't know who the stars of next year's team is going to be because there's a good chance at least a few of them aren't on this roster. So they're Christmas gifts out there that they just have to do a much better job of finding. And then I hope he brings in an offensive coordinator because this is I just told you, Aslan, it's the worst ACC offense in a decade. At Florida effing State, you have an offense that is the worst this conference has seen in 10 years, and the worst at this school in 50 years since Daryl Mudra was coaching. This is the worst offense that Florida State has had. If that doesn't necessitate a whole resetting of what you're doing on offense, yeah, man, go make just a position coach change. That'll fix it. Sure. Get you some bigger guards in here. That's what's wrong. No, man, it's your offense that is wrong. Your offense. No. Again, I said I wasn't going to do this. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm trying not to be negative.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be so negative. I just started that sentence out trying to be positive.
Okay.
And then I just get mad again.
All right. Okay.
I apologize. Folks. I just, this program means a lot to me. It means a lot to all of y'all. And it means a lot to Aslan. If you're listening to this show, this program means a lot to you. And it's gotten you through. It's been a part of your life for probably as long as you've been alive. And it's never been this bad unless you're over 60 years old. You've never had to experience a Florida State season this bad. You've never seen a Florida State offense this bad. And it is catastrophically bad. And with that in mind, there has to be drastic changes. Because there is no excuse for this. There's excuses to have down seasons. There's excuses to take step backs. There's never an excuse in year 5 to have a team with a 1-7 record and have a team that has the worst offense in the Power 5. The team that scored fewer touchdowns than anybody in the country. There is no excuse for this. And no matter who you put at quarterback, your receiver still can't catch. Your offensive line still can't block. Your running back still can't make big plays. Well, that's the coaching. I have a feeling Miami would play with some of the guys on your team, and I bet they would shine a little bit more than they're shining right now. And I know it. We hope it's a one-year anomaly. We hope it's just one step back. But man, it is so bad. It feels like it's more than an anomaly. It feels like it's a enormous fundamental problem, and it needs to be fixed. And it needs to be fixed in a big way, not 1 or 2 position coach changes. Come on, man. You've got to go get somebody and hand them the keys to the offense. But it's just me talking, Aslan. It's just me talking. Maybe I'm dumb. I know Norvell's put up points and yards everywhere he's been. I know he's never had a season like this before, but then who has? And this is year 5. And again, the point I keep coming back to is he's the one that's he's the one that's responsible for this mess we're currently watching. Why would we then think he's the guy that can get him out of it? Because there is not a Jordan Travis on the roster. And the more his offense looks like this, like literally laughably bad, the more it looks like he is a Jordan Travis product. Mike Norvell is a product of Jordan Travis, not the other way around, is what it looks like to me. Through the first, let's say, 11 games, the last 11 games that you've had to play without him, your offense has been a catastrophic joke. So who is responsible for who? Did Mike Norvell build up Jordan Travis, or is it the other way around? And I think Florida State fans rightly wonder it might be the other way around. And if that's the case, well, go get somebody that doesn't need Jordan Travis to have a good offense.
Oh. But keep Mike around. Just saying new offensive coordinator.
That's
new
what
voice.
I mean. That's absolutely what I mean.
Okay.
I am on board with Mike Norvell and the way he runs a program. I promise I am. And that's another thing. It's not. And here's another thing. And what's the deal with this? No, what I was going to say is I like Mike Norvell and the way he runs a program. I like the fact that even though his team had no chance, in my opinion, of beating Clemson and beating Miami, they're still in the game in the fourth quarter. They're still fighting. They're still playing hard. I mean, they are. Earl Little was trying to – it seemed like he was trying to get a targeting call every time he made a tackle. He came in like a whirling dervish. That's good to see, man. I do think they played hard. I do think those DBs competed. I do think Darrell Jackson played hard up front. Marvin even played hard up front. Didn't make a lot of positive plays, but he impacted the pass. Like, there were things to like about the way they competed. And I think that does go back to the DNA of the program and the guy running the show. I do think that. I do like Mike Norvell and what he has brought as a head coach and what he can be as a head coach. But I do not like him at all as an offensive coordinator. I think that's fair. And I would not be upset at all if he took a real hard look at himself and said, we need to fix what's going on with our offense. And that's what I mean by go get somebody else. That does not mean go get Mike Norvell. Go get Mike Norvell's go get a new head coach. I'm not saying that. I'm not giving up on him. It is a bad year that has been compounded by an awful offense, which is his fault. Also, I mean, every team they play, they're going to end up playing 5 teams this year, Aslan, maybe 6 that win 10 games. Like, it would have been a nice year to get Wake or Stanford. You know what I mean? Like, right. Who's the worst team they played? BC?
Cal, and they beat them. Cal,
they beat Cal, yeah. But Cal's 4-4, and how close are they to being 7-1 or 8-0? Like, my point being, Cal is not a pushover by any stretch.
Right.
They have a 4-4 record. They are not a pushover. That is a bowl team that is really unlucky to be 4-4. Like, they missed a 28-yard field goal to lose to NC State. Y'all saw the Florida State loss. You saw the Miami loss. Like, that's really close to being 7-1. Like, really close. 8-0. I think all 4 of their losses were by like 5 points each, so or less. So that is not a pushover. Boston College is not a pushover, clearly, because you lost to them. But, like, it's either Boston College or Cal are the 2 worst teams you played. One's 4-4. Both of them are 4-4. And BC blew that game on Friday night. Like, you're going to end up playing, 11 bowl teams? 10 bowl teams? Maybe Florida doesn't get to a bowl. You're going to end up playing 10 bowl teams, and you're going to play SMU, Memphis, Notre Dame, Miami, and there's another one, Clemson. Those are 5 10-win teams that you're played. At least 5. Maybe Duke still gets there somehow. But like you're the teams that you've played, their combined record is like 47-17. It's nuts. So that hasn't been very lucky that you didn't get any. SMU happens to be a top 20 team when you play them. Or they're going to be a 10-win team when they finally make the schedule. Memphis is 7-1. So it would have been a nice year to get it. Maybe Charleston Southern's the second game of the year, but also that like you could have gotten a bad NC State team, you could have gotten Wake or Stanford, like some pushovers. Instead, you've had, I think, one of the 5 hardest schedules in the country, and you're not good enough to beat any of them. But you're not getting blown off the field either. So it's not like you're non-competitive, right?
Yeah, I guess we got that going for us.
You're not non-competitive. It's just a disgusting record. But it doesn't mean you've just been – you're not a – it's a joke of a record. The offense is a joke. But these games are all games in the second half. They're all games in the fourth quarter. You're not just getting blown off the field. So hang your hat on that, I guess, everyone. But the point being, it's not that far. It's not that far from being a 5-3 type team. But it isn't. Your record is what your record is, and you are 1-7, probably on your way to. So I'm going to give them one. I'm going to give them 3-9.
All right.
Maybe they can beat North Carolina. Although, of course, North Carolina. Why would North Carolina not put together its best game of the year the week before they play you? So maybe they're feeling great about themselves now, coming into Saturday.
On the way out, Corey, last segment, Wake Up Warchant, Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code Warchant, BOGO, use it. Mario had his little comment at the end of his press conference about, he thinks this game showed the recruits, the nation, the trajectory of his program and the other programs.
Well, he made sure to mention the state.
State,
recruits in the state, yeah.
State champs, baby. State champs. Beat USF, beat the Gators, beat Florida State.
Yeah.
With what everything is in this sport right now, everything is so fluid. I mean, cyclical no longer explains what this is. I don't even know what's more of a micro term than cyclical, but just everything can flip obviously so fast. 2 years ago, same field, you absolutely could have named your score against Miami. And I don't know if they really could have named their score on Saturday night. They tried to, man. They wanted to put as many points as they could on the board, but your defense held them to field goals for the most part in that second half. So, looking at Miami, they're going to be in a similar sort of fate as Florida State is. Maybe they got some better freshmen, some sophomores that they've recruited over the last 2-3 years because they've had some better high school recruiting class than Florida State. So maybe they have some of those guys that can lean on more so than Florida State. But it just feels like Miami's going to be in the same position as Florida State here in 2 months when the season's finally over and the dust is settled. Well, maybe they'll still be playing in the playoff, but I don't know how deep they're going to get into it. So I don't know if that's whether to take solace in that or just kind of realize, how crazy this sport is right now, because it doesn't feel like Miami's has something on a lock in this state, and then you have no shot of getting back there. Because I do think that they're going to find themselves having to do a rebuild, and whether or not they can replicate what they did, that's going to be the crux of what they're going to be going through is what Florida State has gone through. So I don't know how much credit Mario wants to take or what sort of length of a victory lap he wants, but that makes me not nearly as upset, I think, as I would have been 5 years ago if the outcome would have been the way it is. But then I start thinking, Corey, completely on the opposite track of this, that, Florida State obviously needs to get better offensively. But when we talk about the defense, and you mentioned it, that, a lot of the guys that helped you be successful on Saturday night, they're probably going to be gone. Fentrell Cypress definitely gone. Of that front four, maybe two come back. I think that'd probably be best case scenario, right? Like if somehow two of those guys came back. Seems like Marvin Jones Jr.
Well, the fact that the two guys you might want back the most, Farmer and Peyton, both entered the portal last year for half a second.
Yeah,
it doesn't fill you with a lot of warm fuzzies that they're going to come back and play there when they're already draft eligible. They're going to come back for another year to play for a team that just won 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, but that front four and those cornerbacks kept the wolves at the gates, if you will.
Yeah. Yep.
You're going to lose those guys, and then obviously we know all the things you have to do on the offense. It just we're going to have so much time to talk about this over the next coming months, so maybe it's not even worth to talk about. But those are the two kind of competing thoughts where I thought, like, listen, Miami's going to be between a rock and a hard place soon enough. But then you start thinking about Florida State, and it's like, man, we obviously have all these things that we're like 100% sure they need to address offensively. Bring in some playmakers, get some more guys on the offensive line, make some staffing changes. But then when the defense is also going to be going probably through some transformation, it's like, can you can get pieces again in the portal, man, but can you go into that thing and get that many pieces to get this thing back to respectability? And how much of that is in your sort of thoughts when you process your emotions and you talk about this team and the way they've been playing, Corey, and you think about the next 4 games?
Yeah, I think number one, I think it was, it's fair for Mario Cristobal to say what he said. Like, I hope everybody all the recruits in the state can see which school is on the right trajectory, who has the better trajectory moving forward. Sure, man. All right. Last year, Mike Norvell beat you for the 3rd year in a row. Beat you for the 2nd year in a row, but was undefeated, and could have said he might have said the same thing. I don't remember his press conference after Miami, but it's nonsense. It's not true anymore. Like, these trajectories don't mean anything. Literally, they don't. Like, we don't have a clue what Miami's going to have next year. So what trajectory is he talking about other than they're having a really good year with a great quarterback? And look, good pieces around him now. That offensive line's good. They've got some dudes up front on defense. They've got some skilled players. Like, it's not just the Cam Ward show and nobody else. He's not doing it by himself, but man, we'll see. We'll see what trajectory that looks like next year. I'm not imagining they're going to be undefeated again next season. Let's just say that. But for Florida State, for our purposes, yeah, it's hard to envision a roster next year that gets you back to playoff contention until you start thinking about, man, isn't Pitt in playoff contention right now? Isn't SMU?
Yeah, they're undefeated in conference play, and if you win this conference, you get a bye, most likely.
Right. If you get to the conference championship game with only one loss, you probably get into the playoff if you're in the ACC. So it's not out of the realm. But, again, the defense, you're losing some talent. You're going to lose some talent, obviously. You might bring in some good players. We like some of the young secondary guys. There will be a learning curve. But you even if you're not in a playoff contention next year, which, again, because of the manner of this sport, it's not undoable. Indiana's 8-0. They were 3-9 last year. Yeah, with their backup quarterback. They won by 2 or 3 touchdowns on Saturday with a backup quarterback. Like, they're 8-0. They have at least a decent chance of getting to the playoff. Indy, effing Anna. So it can't. Don't tell me it can't flip quickly. It can, and he flipped it with a lot of James Madison kids and kids from the MAC. It's not like he went and got a bunch of. He didn't bring Louis Vuitton with him.
Nice.
Well, you know what I mean. He brought
American Tourister. Yeah,
I don't know. He brought like Publix bags, and they're 8-0. So it can happen if you're doing the right evaluating, if you're developing, blah blah blah, all that stuff we've talked about. So that's why I said there is reason for hope. There is reason for optimism. Like, I was thinking this as I guess I'm a pseudo Browns fan because of Stephanie, and they got a great win on Saturday or Sunday, and that was awesome for Jameis. And I listened to the Browns post-game show because I'm weird on the way driving back from Corner Pocket, actually. On XM, I listened to it, and they were overwhelmed with joy. Now, a lot of that had to do with they just lost their longtime announcer. He passed away on Saturday, so they thought it was for him. But
that's who they mentioned. Ira and I were listening to the game on radio on the way back from Miami, and we heard them mention something. I'm like, who?
Yeah, Jim Donovan, who was their longtime announcer. He was fighting cancer, and he passed away on Saturday. And so they were very emotional about that. And you think about like Browns fans. Like last year, that team was in the playoffs. And, and were favored, I think, on the road against the Texans. Like, they were a couple of wins away from the Super Bowl. And then this year they were 1-6. And then you can flip it with other teams. Like, that's how quick that's what it's become for the most part, is it's a year-to-year thing now. You can't build for 3 years down the road. That doesn't exist in college football as it's currently constructed. So, yes, Miami is probably going to make the playoff this year. I don't know how they're going to lose twice for the rest of the season. So if they only have one loss after the championship game, they're going to be in the playoff. But that doesn't even mean, as we just saw, that doesn't even mean 3 wins next year. Because the overturn of the roster is so great, you don't know what you have. You just don't know anymore. But the beauty of that is you don't know. Like, Florida State can go get some dudes and all of a sudden go from 3 wins to, they're probably not going to have an Indiana-like turnaround, but they can get to 8 wins next year. Maybe they miracle themselves to 9 or 10 wins. Like, I'm not predicting that. I have no idea if that's going to happen. Don't even know who the quarterback's going to be or what the coaching staff is going to be. But it's possible now. So, yes, you worry. When you look at 2025, there are going to be a lot of question marks on defense. But there are also answers out there. You've got to figure out who they are. But there are answers out there that would give appendages to play at Florida State. You need to go get some. And if you do that, who knows, Aslan? Who knows? Look around the country, man. BYU had a losing record last year. They're 8-0. Like, this stuff flips really, really quickly. Good and bad. Washington's 4-4. Arizona was 11th in the country last year. I think they're 2-6 now. So it flips back and forth very, very quickly. Let's hope they make some good decisions starting right the day after Thanksgiving, and they give us a reason to not have to hear this tone of my voice for years, because I'm tired of hearing it. It sounds like I'm admonishing Brady. This is what, folks, if you wanted to know what it's like to be the son of Corey Clark, you felt it for the last hour, really for the last month. This is the tone that I take with Brady when he upsets me.
On the way out, check out the Premium Recruiting Board, also known as the PRB, over on warchant.com. On Sunday evening, C.J. Wiley, 4-star receiver, decommitted from Florida State.
Why would he do that, Aslan?
I don't
Is
know.
he not seeing the numbers these guys are putting up?
Offense for playmakers. Or as somebody tweeted to you in one of your replies, it's funny. It said offense for punters.
Yeah, no lie. Well, not even that. They don't even give Mastromano enough at bats because he went for fourth down 7 times.
Yeah, so Wiley now the fifth decommit since September. According to ESPN, Wiley is the third ESPN top 25 wide receiver to decommit in the last 26 days. Michael says that Florida State now currently has no wide receivers in their high school recruiting class. So, yeah, man, the portal. Live by the portal, die by the portal, whatever. Going to have to keep trying to live through
Well,
it,
and
apparently.
again, Wiley might be here 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? That stuff does happen. So, but when you have, do any of us blame him?
Oh, no. I was just trying to, let people know what's going on out
And
there.
that sucks because I don't like saying that. But again, if my son was a top 20 wide receiver in the country and I'm watching this offense, no thanks. No thanks. But the beauty is, go out next year and average 35 a game. Then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm all about it. Let's go. Like you've got some proof of concept and go put points on the board and go have a legitimate offense, and then all of a sudden they'll start flocking back to you. I promise. You had a really good receiver haul last year, I think, recruiting-wise. Well, because they saw Keon and Johnny. So do it again, flip it again, have some good, put out, score points next year, and the receivers will come back.
And before that, though, we need Hakeem and Luane to produce. BJ Gibson produce.
BJ, Elijah Moore, Cam Fryer. That would be nice. That would be nice. And again, maybe go get a portal guy, and he catches 50 balls for you next year.
Ooh.
That would be something too.
Oh, wow, that'd be crazy.
Hey, before we go, I wanted to give Stephanie wanted me to give a shout out to friends of hers, Jordan Miser, who celebrated her 35th birthday.
Jordan.
What is it called? Miami Gardens. She was at the game on Saturday night.
Correct.
That's how she celebrated her 35th birthday. And you look it is pain. And I feel bad that's how your birthday went. But shout out to the real ones. And I'm not saying the ones that didn't go aren't real because I didn't go. So who am I to say? But the fans that still go to these games and still support your team, legitimately, that sounds condescending. I'm not being condescending. That's really cool to see. And hopefully a lot of people – and so, yes, that's awesome that they went to the game. Even in a down year, you're going to go support your team. That's great to see. I commend it. And hopefully there will be a lot of people in Doak on Saturday to watch what at least could be a win, Aslan. It's not out of the realm. I don't know what the line is yet. But it could be a win.
3:30, by the way, ACC Network. They did announce that. We do know that. Couldn't get a nooner.
Nope, that's fine. 3:30's not bad though. It's better than 8 o'clock.
I want a nooner, man. I just want to get on with my life.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Oh yeah, I don't know, man. You mentioned that stadium, and I'm not the guy that makes fun of them for not having their own stadium and all that kind of nonsense, but. For being Miami, Florida State, and having lost to Florida State for 3 straight years, and you're pretty much guaranteed that if you just show up, you're going to watch your favorite team beat probably the team that you hate the most. Not impressed. Okay. But what makes you sick to your stomach is that they're probably going to get they're going to have the gift
of the playoff game.
Of a home playoff game, and what you would do to have one of those. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll get a bye, and then that'll be a bowl game. So, yeah, maybe that'll make me sleep a little bit better. I just couldn't believe it, Corey. I mean, that place, they converted a couple fourth downs in the second half, I think, or maybe even one in the second quarter, and the place barely registered like any noise. It was just kind of like, all right, we just got a first down against FAMU with up 21-0 in the first quarter.
It has the feel of a Dolphins game. It's an NFL environment. It feels like a sterile NFL game.
And I'm not saying I'm trying to like think of the Miami fans like in a better light, but I would have figured that was going to be like a really raucous, rabid fan base, like a cathartic moment. Or Mario's got this thing cooking. He's one of us. This is a great night. We're going to humiliate Florida State, and they just they didn't show up, and they really weren't that loud. I don't think they affected the game. Not that they needed to. But they could have made that thing a lot more miserable for people. But maybe that was a good thing. Maybe they were a little bit more calm, and nobody got into any brawls. But it's a cycle for me, Corey, that I get away from it every 2 years. Like Miami, I'm like, I don't like Miami, but I can kind of respect the rivalry. But then I go down there every 2 years, and then it doesn't take me long to be like, I don't like this place at all.
Right.
And the people that root for this team. So
it's all fair, Aslan.
Yeah.
It's all fair. You're not going to get any disputes from me, buddy.
FanDuel's got Florida State a 1.5-point underdog as we record this.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, Noles, let's go.
Shock them. All right, we're done, but so much more content going on over at warchant.com. Jeff Cameron Show 1 to 4 o'clock. That's going to be must listen to, at least that opening segment, the monologue, the open, whatever we want to frame that as. So check that out. A 3-2-1 from Irish O'Fell, probably going to be up on the site at some point on Monday. Don't want to put too much pressure on our guy. And then we'll get the press conference going down at 11 o'clock in the morning. We'll ask all the tough questions. We'll try to make Mike either walk off the podium or cry. That's my goal.
There you go. Perfect.
Just kidding, everybody. Not going to do that. We're going to just ask some questions, though. We'll see how it all goes. Tune in for it, though. He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.